Hi everyone, welcome to Byte and Beyond with Uday. In this video, we will learn about detached entity lifecycle and we will also learn about cascade type detach. There is a slight difference between detach and cascade type detach, a thin line between these two concepts. So I'm going to explain both of these concepts with a simple and practical example. So let's begin. First of all, let's understand what is detach. So detach meaning when the particular entity is detached, meaning JPA is not tracking that entity. Okay. So over here, if you can see the definition says when the entity detach, when our entity is detached, JPA stops tracking the entity, right? So this is the definition. And when the entity is not detached, then we call it manage entity. So let's directly jump into the example and let's understand this. When the entity is managed and when the entity is detached. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm for the demonstration purpose, I'm going to modify our find by ID method. Okay. So let's do that. I'm going to remove this. Okay. Going to have optional. Let me remove everything. Yeah. And let me write from scratch. Employee. Okay. Let's say optional employee is equal to. Okay. I'm going to check if the employee is present or not. Okay. Just a standard validation. Nothing else till now. Now, once the employee is really present, I'm going to get it. Okay. And before we return it, what I'm going to do, I'm going to change change a particular field. Don't worry about the coding part yet. I'm going to explain you once I'm done with the coding. So don't worry about this. So let me first of all quickly finish this coding. Okay. All right. Update, updated. That's good. Okay. So let me explain this in simple language. So first of all, in this line, what I am doing, I am fetching the entity from the database with the ID. So employee repository will give me employee, which is type of optional. And in this block, I'm basically checking if the employee, this optional employee is not, empty or not. If it is empty, I'm going to throw an exception. Okay. If the employee is present in our system, then I am going to get the actual employee from the optional. Okay. So this is our actual employee. Once we have the employee, what I'm doing over here, this is the important part now. What I'm doing over here. So basically, I'm updating the name, set first name, and then I'm basically getting the current name, and I'm basically appending the name as updated. For example, let's say username is Emma, so the new name will become like this, Emma updated. Understood? So before we try the practical, let me show you the slide. So in this case, now our entity is in manage state. Okay. Because if you see this portion of code, I'm not, I'm not detaching my entity anywhere till now. So by default, whenever we are not detaching our entity, by default, the entity is in the manage state. So currently, the employee is within the manage state, meaning whatever changes I am going to make with the employee object, that is going to automatically update in the database. So over here, what will happen if I am setting the name and appending as updated? So my name, Emma name will be look like this, Emma updated. So now the code is ready. So let's run this application and see what happens. Okay. And if you notice, I am not using any save method over here. Okay. I am not saying employee repository dot save, right? I am just getting an employee object. Okay. And I am updating the existing field. That is it. So our application is up and running. Perfect. And let me use the get all APIs. Okay. So if you can see, the current name is Emma, right? No matter how many times I fetch this entity, okay, and we can verify the same in the database as well. So here is the select query, okay. So if you can see, the name is Emma. That is perfect. Now, as you know that we have made changes in this API. Which API? Employee find by ID, right? So now we are expecting that the Emma name should change to the Emma updated. Okay. So let's see what happens. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just the current employee ID is Emma's ID is 1, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pass 1 over here and I'm going to hit the send button. So if you see over here, the name is updated. We can verify with this get all APIs. Let me fetch the entity once again. Now you can see Emma updated. We can go inside the database and verify over here as well. So you can see name is updated. How this name is updated? Because by default, by default, our employee entity is in a managed state. Meaning once I'm get once I get the employee from the repository, the JPA track this method, and it basically tracks whatever changes which we are making within this method. So over here, as you can see, we are updating the first name. So JPA basically tracks it, and it makes the appropriate update when the method ends over here. At this point, it commits all the changes, right? So it does not require explicitly save a method of repository. Okay, so by default, when our entity state is managed, so whatever changes you are making over here, that is going to be tracked by JPA, right? So that's what I am explaining inside this slide. So if you can see this slide, by default, employee in the managed state, I am fetching the employee and then I am changing the first name, and that updated name, it is updating automatically inside the database, right? But to work, so manage basically take help from something which is this transactional. So in order to track this method, I mean in order to track this entity, I would say JPA requires at the rate transactional annotation. So transactional annotation basically helps JPA to track this entity. Okay. Whether the state is persist, remove, okay, detach, this this transactional annotation helps a lot. Okay. So So to give you example, let me comment out this, and let's see what happens now. Okay, so let me restart my application once. Okay, now our application is up and running. Perfect. Now let me call the get all API just to check what is the value. Now it is currently it is EMMA updated. Let me reset the name. Okay, all right. Okay, now it is reset. Now again let me, yeah, perfect. So you can see now name is changed to the EMMA, the earlier state. Okay, we can verify the same in the DB as well. There is EMMA only. Okay, now I am going to call the same get by get employee by ID API, and I am expecting that I should get this EMMA updated. Okay, so let me hit the send button. Over here, I might see the EMMA updated because I am directly, making changes in the entity and converting into the DTO. Okay, but if I fetch this entity from the database, let's see what happens. You can see there is no impact on the entity. We can verify the same in the database as well. So if I hit fire the select query, you can see the name is still Emma. And why I am getting Emma updated over here? Just because I am directly making changes in the entity and I am directly converting into the DTO. So that is why these changes are not getting persisted in the database. That we can verify with the query as well. Okay, so let me hit the send button once again. Let's see what happens. You can see there is no update statement. So it is not going to update. Even if I check in the database, I will still see the same name, Emma, right? So in order to manage state work, we required, basically the JPA requires this transactional. Okay. Don't worry about this transactional for now. I am going to create separate video on this topic. So for now, you can think of, in order to perform database operations, transactional is must required. You should always have this at the rate transactional annotation whenever you are performing operation with the database. For now, this information is sufficient. We are going to create a separate video on this, so don't worry about this. And one more thing, if you have noticed, I have use this annotation at the class level. So when I use this at the class level, all the public API, all the public method is going to have advantage of this transactional annotation. So that is why I have used it at the class level. Okay, so all these methods can use at the transactional annotation. So don't worry about this much. We will talk about this transactional in the separate video. For now, let's focus on this detached topic. Okay. So as I mentioned, transactional is required. That is going to help. So okay. Now I have added transactional, and if I again restart my application, let me restart once. This is going to work. Okay. Okay. Application is up and running. Perfect. Now, before I do anything, let me check the current value of the entity. So you can see name is Emma, right? Now, let me try to update it. Okay. So first of all, let me clear this console and let me use the get employee by ID API to see the impact. So yeah, we can see it is updated, but we can verify that By looking at the console, this time it has updated the employee using this update statement. Earlier it wasn't, when we have removed that at the transactional, right? So now basically transactional helping us to track the helping JPA to track this entity. Okay. Now if I go to the database, see it is updated. I can verify the same when I use this get all API. Over here, instead of EMMA, I will get the EMMA updated. If I hit this API second time, I will get 2 times updated. You can see updated. I can verify the same using get all API. Okay, good. We can verify the same in the database as well. Okay, perfect. So till now we have seen managed. Okay, by default entity is in the managed state, but we are here to see the detach, or we are here to understand the detach. So what will I do? Now I will detach my entity. Okay. So if we see the slide, so when we detach the entity, the update does not go inside the database. Okay. When we detach the entity, meaning no update. Detach meaning no update. That's simple. So let me do one thing. Let me detach this entity. So how am I going to detach this entity? I am going to use entity manager for that. So what I am going to do, let me declare the entity manager over here. Entity, okay, entity manager, perfect. Entity manager, and I'm going to use an annotation which is at the rate persistence context. Perfect. All right. So in order to detach my entity, I need to use entity manager. Okay. So that is why we have declared this entity manager over here. Now let me go to this method and let me do one thing. Let me detach the entity now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say entity manager detach. Okay, and employee. So if you can see, all this process remains same. Okay, I'm getting employee out of optional, and then I'm detaching the employee. Meaning this updated should not get concatenated or should not get appended. Okay. So to test this, let me restart my application. Now my name, the first name is not going to update because I have detached my entity. So I won't see updated. Instead of that, I will only see Emma and Emma. That is it. So application restarted. Perfect. Now let me first of all reset my entity. Yeah, perfect. Now let me just to confirm. Let's use the get all API. You can see now the name is changed to Emma only. We can verify the same in the DB as well. You can see Emma only. Now let me hit this send button of this API get employee by ID. Okay. You might see the updated over here, but the entity is not going to update in the system because we have detached it. So if I use the get all API to confirm, see there is no update. Even if I see in the database, you can see there is no update. Okay, because I have detached the entity, meaning I am telling JPA, hey JPA, do not track this entity. Okay, just ignore it. Whatever changes I am making, just ignore it. Okay, that's what I am telling by saying detach. So you can see the same in the slide. So I'm fetching employee. So if you see this portion, we are fetching employee. Once the employee is there, I am saying detach, right? Call detach. So that's what I have called detach. Now over here, I am updating the first name, right? And in this example, we can see it is salary. We can update any field, right? We can modify any field. In our case, we are modifying the first name, right? But because our entity is detached mode, the update is not going to save in the database. So all right. So that's what is happening right now. So it doesn't matter how many times I hit this API, the entity is never going to update. You can see I'm hitting this API multiple times. But when I use this get all API, the name is going to remain same, which is Emma only. We can verify the same in the DB as well. You can see Emma only because now our entity is detached. All right, perfect. So you have understood both of the concept, right? The managed and detach. Okay, so over here, one part is clear. What is detach? Okay, so detach meaning whenever we are detaching the entity, there will be no update going to save in the database. But when the entity is managed, the changes, entity changes will automatically going to save in the database. So that is the main difference. And one more thing, whether whether I this uh, the sequence doesn't matter. Even if I declare this entity manager detach over here, still it is going to work. So the sequence doesn't matter. Okay, so once the entity is detached, the changes are not going to save in the database. Why the sequence is doesn't matter? Because at the end of this method, JPA commits the transaction or commit the changes. Okay, it does not commit right after this line. It commits only after end of this method. So that is why this sequence doesn't matter. Okay, so just to prove this concept, let me click on sand. Okay, you can see still Emma. Now, even after changing the sequence, there won't be any impact. Okay, so I can verify the same using get all API, right? You can see only Emma. I can verify the same in the DB as well. Perfect. Only Emma, right? Okay. Now, detach is clear. All right. Now detach is clear. Detach meaning no update in the database and manage meaning auto update in the database. Now let's move to the next slide. So that is cascade type detach. So what is cascade type? So cascade type is basically whatever operation we are performing on the parent, same operation going to perform on the child. Okay. So let me show you one thing over here. So if I go to the employee entity, this is employee entity, and you can see the cascade type persist is there, remove is there, and merge is there. Till now, there is no detach. Okay. So if I add cascade type detach, then what will happen? Okay. So if I add the cascade type detach, if I am making changes in the ID card, that is not going to reflect. But let me show you the first of all manage state. Okay. let me show you the manage state. So if you can see, I have detached the employee entity, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the ID card from the employee, and I'm going to make changes in the ID card. Set card number. Okay, this looks good to me. Okay. So what I'm doing here for the ID card as well, I'm updating the set ID, set card number. I'm basically updating the card number. Let's say earlier the card number is ID 12345. After this call, I'm going to append this updated. That is it. Now you tell me, because I have detached my employee entity, is this ID card changes going to persist in the database? You tell me. Then I will show you the example, or then we will restart our application and we will verify it. But you can guess for now. Let me give you the clue. So if you see this slide, okay, and as I explain you, cascade type meaning if I am applying any operation on the parent, apply the same operation on the child as well. So currently our employee is in the detach mode, but I am not using any cascade type detach over here. Okay. So you can guess. Let me restart the application first. I will explain you. All right. Application is up and running. Perfect. So let me reset the employee. I mean, this employee entity. You can see the current card is EMP1, card number is EMP1, and the name is Emma. I can verify the same using this get all API as well. So first name Emma and the card number is EMP1. We can see that in the DB as well. Name Emma, card number EMP1. Now you can guess what will happen. Let me hit the send button. You can see, I can see updated at the both places, but let me verify using this API, get all API. You can see ID card updated, but the employee first name is not updated. We can verify the same in the DB as well. You can see there is no updated, but in case of ID card, the updated is appended. Okay. So ID card is updated. How is that possible? Because the reason why is this possible, let me explain. I am saying detach employee. I am not saying detach ID card. Okay. So that is why still ID card is tracked by JPA. Okay. So let me comment out this. If I comment out in this case, you can guess both will updated employee as well as ID card. So let me restart once. All right. It is up and running. Perfect. Let me reset the values of the entity. Okay. That's why I'm using this put API just to, reset this first name and the card number. Now I can verify the same using this get all API as well. I'm getting the slash value. We can verify in the DB as well. So you can see Emma and EMP1. All right. Now, as because I have commented out this line. I am not detaching employee anymore. So in this case, employee will update it as well as ID card will also get updated. So let me keep this sorted. Sorted meaning let me use the right order. Okay. First I am updating the name. employee name, and then I'm updating the ID card. Okay. And yeah, let me restart once. It doesn't matter. This second doesn't matter in this case. All right. This is just for the readability. Okay. Nothing else. So application up and running. So because I have commented out this particular line, I'm not detaching the employee anymore. Both entities should get updated. That is the expectation. Now let's hit the API and verify. So let me hit the get employee by ID. Okay, now I'm seeing this updated and updated, but let me verify using this API. Is this really updated? Yeah, both updated, the employee and the ID card. We can verify in the DB as well. You can see updated, updated. And if I hit this second time, there will be two updated, updated and updated, right? We can verify with this get all API, right? And we can see the same changes in the DB as well. You can see two times updated and two times updated. Perfect. And as soon as now, let me reset once. Let me reset. Okay. As soon as I detach my employee entity, employee is not going to track by JPA. Only ID card will track. Okay. So let me restart. Let's see that example once again, just for the clarity. And then we will move to the, we will add the cascade type detach. Okay. So because now this employee is detached, only ID card will be updated. Okay. Because I am saying only detach employee, not the ID card. Right. So let me use this get all API and confirm the changes. Yeah, everything is reset to EMMA and EMP1. Perfect. We can verify the same in the DB as well. First name Emma, card number EMP1. Perfect. Now let me use this API and see what happens. You might see updated at both places, but let's verify that using get all APIs. You can see only card updated, but not the employee first name because we have detached the employee entity. We can verify the same in the DB as well. Only Emma, but over here EMP1 updated. Even if I execute this second time, there will be two updated for the card number, but for the employee first name, it will be Emma only. So we can see that over here, card number two time updated, and for the name, it is Emma only. Why? Because we are detaching employee entity over here. Now, let's say when I detach this employee entity, I want to make sure ID card should also get detached automatically. Okay. So that's when I should use cascade type detach. Okay. So if I say cascade type detach, I am saying to JPA, hey JPA, when I detach the parent, meaning employee is a parent over here, right? And ID card is a child. So by adding this cascade type detach, I am saying to JPA, hey JPA, when I detach employee, please detach this ID card entity as well. Because you can, if you can see, I am using this cascade type detach over this ID card, right? And when I say entity manager detach employee, it automatically detach the ID card as well. Why? Because I have given indication over here. Cascade type detach, meaning detach the child ID card entity as well. So let's run this application and verify. Perfect. Application is up and running. So if you can see over here, I am not detaching ID card explicitly, but I am detaching the employee entity only. But because of Cascade type detach, ID card is automatically going to detach. All right. So let's see this in effect. Let me verify, and yeah, let me reset the value using the put API. Okay, value reset. Now if I can verify, now I will get only EMP1 and MR. Now let me hit the get employee by ID API once. You can see over here it might get, we might get updated over here, but let's verify using this API, get all API, get all employees. You can see there is no update. It doesn't matter how many times I hit the send button of this get employee by ID API. So it doesn't matter how many times I hit this API. My employee is not going to update because over here I am saying detach employee. So it is not going to track these changes. Additionally, I am saying cascade, I am using this cascade type detach over this ID card field that is declared within the employee entity. All right. So if you see, this is employee entity and this is my ID card field. And over here, I am saying cascade type detach. So what is cascade type detach? It says when I detach the employee entity, the parent, the child, meaning the child is ID card should also get detached automatically. So that is why it doesn't matter how many times I hit the API, it is never going to update because you can see there is no update. We can verify in the database. All right, there is no update because when we detach the parent, the child also get detached automatically when we use this cascade type detach. So let me show you the slide as well. So when the employee entity is managed, this is also going to be managed. But when I use the cascade type detach, if I detach the employee, the ID card is automatically going to detach. So detaching parent also detach the child. So whatever, if I am detaching basically employee, it is going to detach ID card. That is it. So our slides ends over here, and with this slide, our video also ends over here. I hope this concept is clear now. If you find my video useful, then please like, share, subscribe, comment. See you in the next video. Bye.